What is going on, nerdy movie fans? It's time to review the new Marvel season, Marvel Zombies, new series. And so, this one, I don't know, guys. This just, I mean, it has its good moments, it had its bad moments, it had its really bad writing, and then it had some pretty neat writing. This just sort of felt so mixed. I can't really say I didn't like it. I can't say I did. I'm just somewhere in the middle. So let's look at Marvel TV shows. Pretty much every show you can think of, whether it was before Disney Plus or after Disney Plus. Um, Pretty much as far as my opinion is, I think every series has a season that I like and a season I don't like. Even some of the best, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I consider one of the best, even though after season 5 and even half season 5, it just kind of lost me. I finished the series because I'm a completionist, but it just really lost me after the whole space stuff. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, worked for a more grounded, on Earth kind of storyline. So when it comes to Marvel TV show consistency, the one that comes to mind would be Daredevil. I'm including the 3 seasons from Netflix and the Daredevil Born Again, the one on Disney Plus. I think even though Born Again didn't have the same grittiness as the Netflix series did, the writing was still really good, and it was good enough. It showed your main cast acting range. So I would say Daredevil is probably the most consistent series as far as my opinion is concerned. So for Marvel Zombies, in What If Season 1, we got an episode, What If Zombies. I think that's the name of it. And so we get sort of a storyline of a select handful of characters, and the series sort of picks up with different characters. It's the same timeline from that episode, but in that episode, Ant-Man, Black Panther, and Spider-Man are our three supposedly only remaining characters left. And they're going to Wakanda as we see zombie Thanos is in Wakanda. That's where that episode ended. And so now we come to this series, and it doesn't pick up with those characters. We do get a glimpse of these characters later, but not in episode 1. We get a new set of characters. So we get Miss Marvel, we get Kate Bishop, and we get Ironheart. The characters were fine. It just seemed like Kate Bishop and Ironheart were just written very flat. They didn't really provide much of anything, which, when we get to the end of the first episode, they were the two characters that perished. So it's made sense why they didn't spend too much time developing their characters, but at the same time, it would have been nice if they developed them enough to care about them. They were just sort of there. The only other thing from that first episode that was incredibly annoying is they had Iron Man's suit was still active, which Iron Man was killed in Zombies, and I think his zombie version was then killed again. But the Iron Man suit remains, where the AI Friday is in control of the suit. But they have a pink bear head on the Iron Man suit, and I thought of two things. One, I thought of that, whatever the hell that creature is called from DC's Legends of Tomorrow, that big blue bear thing that just ruined every episode it was involved in. That came to mind. And do you think of the pink bear from Fortnite? You see it in Walmart, wherever you go. If there's advertisement for Fortnite, you see that pink bear. So having those two things come to mind watching a Marvel rated R series, the seriousness I took the series, as far as how serious I wanted to take it, it lowered. It really, really lowered after that, seeing this character, I guess. And that was first 5 minutes. So it was not a strong start going into it. For it being rated R, I did want to say, I just didn't really think it was that gory. Now, this is someone that's watched a lot of horror movies, and I've seen a lot of, guts spilling, a lot of bloody stuff. There's decapitation, the typical stuff that comes with horror. They included in this series, but the way the animation style is, it just really didn't look graphic. And you look at some series like anime, like the series Invincible, they take animation and make it really, really graphic. I just didn't think the series really did that. They say a couple of cuss words that give it that R rating, so maybe that's why it's rated R. It it was not scary. There's really no jump scares of any kind, and for what blood it had, it didn't seem like it was overkill. So it just seemed like it was a generic. It could have been PG-13 if they cut the language down. That's how I felt about it. So this was not some hard or scary project that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. I personally have not read the Marvel comics, so I know Marvel Zombies is a really cool comic storyline, for those who, of course, read the comics. As far as I'm concerned, I think the show sort of took a spin on that. I know it's sort of loosely based off of the comic stuff. The only thing I know about is that Hank Pym and Vision were important in the comic run, if I remember correctly, and they didn't really serve much of a purpose in this series at all. Vision, I don't think, was in the series at all, for he was killed in that What If episode for Zombies, which is basically the starter for the series. So now that we've recapped all of that, episode 1 ends with 2 of our 3 characters dying. The only thing that was kind of cool was they had like this Valley of the Gods where Captain Marvel and Icarus from Eternals were in this constant battle where no one can beat the other. So their battle, their powers attacking each other, just causing this just destruction everywhere around them. So that concept was actually really cool. If they had chosen some more interesting characters, like Thor were a part of this, the Valley of the Gods, so they had like Asgard characters here, I think it could have been a really neat thing. So just Captain Marvel and Icarus, of course they only had like 30 seconds of screen time, it seemed like. They didn't really serve a long role in the series at all. They were just there to cause destruction, which helped move the plot along toward Kate Bishop and Ironheart being killed. So when their characters are down, Miss Marvel meets up with Blade, and who's now the avatar for Khonshu, so Blade is Moon Knight. These characters have now met up, and so for the second episode, it was a lot more interesting. The second episode, I believe, had a lot of this sort of shield base. The shield base was the main focus for this episode, I believe. Unless this was all in the first 3. I watched all 4 episodes back to back, guys. It just felt like a blur. It was like hour and a half, hour 45 minutes. It was like a movie. So it's going to be very hard for me to pinpoint what the end of each episode was. So anyway, after Miss Marvel meets up with Moon Knight, which is Blade, go to the shield base where they see basically all the Black Widow characters. You have Red Guardian, Mylena, which I don't know if the actress is actually Russian for Mylena. I don't know. The accent just, it didn't sound like it fit the character at all. I don't know what was up with that, but you have Red Guardian, Mylena, Black Widow, Yelena, or not Black Widow, you have Yelena and other random Black Widow, daughters of Red Guardian, I guess, that are there. So that's the shield base. And so as the Scion of the Queen of the Dead, which we know is Scarlet Witch, Okoye from, of course, Black Panther, is the Scion, whatever it's called, that's leading the army of the dead to the shield base, where we see half of Captain America, we see Abomination and Ghost. Some of these characters were pretty cool. Ghost was pretty cool. Got a pretty neat fight with some of the Widows and then with Blade. And Captain America versus Red Guardian was kind of funny. It was just this throwaway fight, but as a fan of Red Guardian's character, it was kind of neat to see. And Abomination, of course, was just this unstoppable force in this for this episode. And so basically the characters have to escape, but Mylena ends up having to stay behind, so she's now died, so now Red Guardian has lost someone, and the characters are now sort of moving on. And so I believe that is the general story for the second episode, is all the shield base, I think. And so as they leave, the third episode, I believe, picks up with Shang-Chi, where he and Katie are in the city as people are becoming zombies. And Katie doesn't know that he hasn't really has any fighting skills yet. So as everything's happening, he starts fighting to fight zombies. His father shows up. Shang-Chi ends up getting bit by a zombie. So his father gives him the rings, which means he's now killed because he doesn't have the rings anymore. And Shang-Chi's rings going on his arm stop him from becoming zombified. So now he has to have those rings. But the annoying thing is, is that was kind of, that was fine, that was cool, I guess. And then they move to, I think, 5 years later, sort of montage where he and Katie are singing music while using the rings, or Katie's using the rings now all of a sudden. Of course, it's been 5 years, but it's just awkward to see this goofy character have such cool powers. And they're just attacking Skrulls, who I just can't stand the Skrulls one bit. If you saw Secret Invasion, I'm sorry. If you didn't watch Secret Invasion, don't waste your time. I'm just so sick of the Skrulls. So having Katie singing versus Skrulls, I was so tuned out of the episode. But it did get better after this Wasteland Mad Max reference sort of montage. So they get to this sort of city where they have cows. They bring food for safe passage to wherever the person providing safe passage is going. And turns out Baron Zemo, along with John Walker by his side, is in control of the raft. And they're going to go down to the sea to avoid zombies and have their hidden utopia. So, in theory, as far as writing for this episode is concerned, it's actually really cool. Because Zemo, this is his thing to take control, have this grand speech where you guys have made it this far, now we've made it. It was a neat speech. Zemo was cool. So for this episode, when they go deep into the water, it's cool. It's a neat story, but they already showed Namor in the trailer. So if they hadn't shown him in the trailer, or if someone who watches the show without seeing a trailer, they would have been much more surprised by Namor and his people showing up to attack the raft. And this sequence was cool because Zemo is still very much a villain. He has these two groups of heroes, our characters from Red Guardian, Yelena, Blade, Miss Marvel. There's a couple others, I don't remember. You have this one group, now you have Shang-Chi, Katie, and Jimmy Woo, and then some other people, Death Dealer, and then some other people that was with his father's group, I guess, that are named, I just don't remember them. They're only referenced like once. So you got two groups of heroes. So Zemo releases one group of heroes into the ocean to feed Namor and his people. So now all the people in the raft have learned, oh, Zemo's just feeding Namor's people for protection. And so this is very much a Zemo thing to do, but as, of course, Namor brings these heroes back into the raft and everyone's in danger now, Zemo goes for the controls and all these characters are fighting Namor and his people. Basically, there ends up being a fight where Yelena has to go manually unlock the pods or something, where all the characters in this room with this intense fight with Namor. And then his kill was actually pretty good. It was not gory, but if you try to describe what happened to him, it sounds really gory. So that was kind of neat. And so basically where Yelena had to manually launch a pod, she's left behind, so she's now being killed. And of course some of our other characters were left behind as well, or killed during this fight between Namor and the people of Talokan. And so each episode we lose some more characters. We get new characters and lose some characters. So the pacing I thought was pretty interesting. I just wish they had chosen cooler characters. But I get it, the original Avengers already used another episode that didn't have any X-Men for, I don't know why. They have the rights to the Fantastic Four, I thought. So I don't know why Fantastic Four couldn't have been in here. That could have been really cool, but they didn't do that. So for our characters we have, the surviving characters now move on to episode 3, where it's all Asgard themed. They're going to New Asgard because the main story is Miss Marvel has this thing that says some transmitter, if they can get to space, the transmitter is going to send word to the Nova Corps so they can come heal and save the Earth. And so that's the whole plot, where Miss Marvel and her friends, who are heroes, are trying to get to space so they can send the transmitter thing so that the Nova Corps will come save the day. And so in episode 3, they go to Asgard because Asgardians came to Earth on a ship. They want to use the ship to go to space. Show up to New Asgard. Valkyrie is running Asgard because Thor can't really fight at all. Of course, we do get, I believe this is the episode where we get the montage of what happened at the end of the What If Zombie episode with Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Ant-Man. I think this is in episode 3 we get this. So what happens is, for them showing up in Wakanda, attack Thanos. He's a zombie, so he can't focus control of the Infinity Stones. He does then get the Mind Stone again. He has all of them. And Black Panther ends up diving off this cliff with Thanos into this reactor core, is what I call it, for vibranium, killing him and Thanos and destroying the stones, sort of. But the stones emit all this power where we realize, oh, all this power it needed to be controlled by someone, so the Hulk was the only one strong enough to hold it. So the Hulk now sits in solace, pretty much, holding all the power in the Infinity Stones. Where in this fight with Wakanda, where Thor, Rocket, and Groot showed up, where Rocket and Groot were then instantly killed by Thanos, and Thor lost the fight, kind of like how he did in Infinity War. So, fast forward to now, in the present timeline, Thor is basically he doesn't talk, he doesn't move, he doesn't do anything, he's just there. And so, as the heroes are now all in New Asgard, they find out, oh, Wanda Maximoff is there. Of course, our heroes are freaking out, she's the Queen of the Dead, but she's trying to say, oh, but I'm not a zombie. So she regained her own consciousness, but can still use and take the zombie form. So she can still control zombies. And so she poisoned the food in Asgard to where they're all turning into zombies, so she can have an Asgardian army. So during the fight of our heroes trying to get to a ship, they do. And as they're trying to leave, Scarlet Witch pulls it back down, much like how Darth Vader has used the Force to pull ships down before. Thor finally joins the fight and stops Scarlet Witch. So he's fighting her. We don't see what happens to him. We see the ship get away. And so they sort of have their happy ending, you'd think. They get to space, use the transmitter, send word to the Nova Corps. Turns out the Nova Corps are quarantining the Earth so that zombie outbreak doesn't spread anywhere else. And so basically the Nova Corps is not going to save them. So they're kind of shot down, but Miss Marvel has her powers to put everyone in a bubble, so they crash back down to Earth, where Spider-Man, Ant-Man, and Rentra, who is, I guess, Sorcerer Supreme now, from Kamar-Taj, I believe it was called. Our main characters are saved by Rentra, which Rentra was great. He had no speaking lines in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. He was definitely one of the highlights from this series, so I can't explain why. I just love the guy's voice, love how the character talked. It was just a breath of fresh air, and I loved him. So, with their main characters saved, this is where our main characters learn about everything with Hulk and what happened in Wakanda. And so now we learn that the whole plot of the series is Scarlet Witch is trying to zombify heroes, or take over heroes to join her army, so she has someone strong enough to beat Infinity Hulk, so she can take the power of the Infinity Stones for herself. That's the whole plot. So we get a really cool montage of Scarlet Witch using Asgardians, Wakandans, all these armies that she has, the Raft, and all of the Talokan people. She's having armies after armies fighting Infinity Hulk. So this fight was actually really cool. Of course, Hulk is getting weaker and weaker fighting all these people, and so all of our heroes now join the fight to defend Hulk. So now it's Scarlet Witch versus the heroes on Hulk. Big fights going on. Bad guys, good guys. Some of them are all dying. We're getting very small amount of characters left. And then one of the big cool moments was Zombie Thor. Because he was the one that was killing most of our main characters. He's the one that was getting some really good hits on Hulk. But then when Hulk killed Thor, it was one of the more brutal deaths for the series, is how he killed Thor. So as far as like Hawkeye was still around for the first episode, just around, half of Captain America was around. Zombie Thor is dead. Zombie Thor is not coming back. And so toward the end, Ant-Man is kind of still alive, Spider-Man's still alive. In this final moment where Scarlet Witch tells Miss Marvel, hey, let us connect our powers and we can bring everyone back. So as Miss Marvel accepts this invitation, they touch hands and she sees Ironheart, Kate Bishop, she sees their friends back. So they're alive now, I guess, but she keeps seeing the world is all put back together, but then there's flashes of everyone as zombies all over the place. So she's sort of in between realities, and that's where the series ends. So it kind of left off of the cliffhanger. I'm assuming they're going to make another season, or at least a movie special, or whatever they're going to do. I don't know what the real story is. Apparently, they wanted to do a movie, but they couldn't because of the Spider-Man rights. So they had to make it a series so Spider-Man can be in it. I don't know what the deal is, but it was kind of interesting at some moments, but it just felt so slow at most of the other times. So it could have been cool if they added in some characters everyone's been waiting for, like Fantastic Four or X-Men. You have hundreds of X-Men characters. There were no Inhumans. You didn't have a lot of magic people. So I don't know. It just felt like they just used characters from projects from the past 5 years in zombies, which some of the characters are fine, some of them aren't. It was just, I don't know. There were annoying characters, there were fun characters. It was a mix of characters. It was a mix of, I thought, cheesy moments, cringe moments, cool moments, badass moments. It was just such a mix. I don't know really what my general consensus is. I really want to know what your thoughts are. If you watch the series, let me know what you think. Because like I said, there were some neat stuff in there. I don't know, I thought we were going to get some X-Men. I mean, What If already had Storm. The Marvel animation team has already dabbled in having X-Men in their shows already. So I was expecting Storm or at least some other X-Men, but we didn't get that. Hopefully we will in this next season that they're undoubtedly going to make. We'll see what happens, guys. This series leaves off on a cliffhanger. They're obviously going to want to continue that story, whether they do a movie and cut Spider-Man from it or another series so they can have him again. We'll see what's going on with that. Thank you guys for watching my review of this series. Like I said, let me know what you think of the show. Keep it digging, everyone. I'll see you guys next time.